Hi, so hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Koi podcast. So, as you know, that we are regularly coming up with episodes trying to highlight the critical research that early career scientists are pursuing uh, in a wide range of domain. So today we're trying to take it up and trying to understand more about our polar environment. Uh, so today we have with us Fowzia Ahmed, who is a PhD candidate at the Center for Earth Observation Science at the University of Manitoba. Uh, we are long-term colleagues, and now we are sort of also in a similar field. So we have a lot in common to talk about. So I think it was a nice opportunity that Fawzia could make it to the podcast. So today we will talk a bit about nutrient dynamics of sea ice algae in the Arctic. When we think about the Arctic, we imagine it as sort of just as like sort of like a block of ice with very cold, but surprisingly, it is also a very active biological environment, and and that is something interesting that Fawzia will like sort of tell us a bit more about. That what seems to be a very remote, a very uh, non-lively environment can actually be a very interesting and full of life environment. So we're going to talk about the sea ice algae in the Arctic, and specifically about the nutrient cycle, and Fawzia will tell us more about it. So I don't want to spend too much time. So Fawzia, if you want to sort of introduce yourself, what are you doing right now? And yeah, just take it from there.
Yeah, thanks, Monoji. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here talking about my research. So, yeah, as Monoji said, I am a PhD candidate. I am doing my PhD in University of Manitoba in Department of Environment and Geography. And yeah, so before I'll just talk about a little bit of background. So I did my undergrad and masters in Bangladesh from Jahannagar University. And yeah, I did a lot of different work or research before coming to Canada. So I did during my undergrad, I did like oil biodegradation using a bacteria, which was very interesting. I find it very interesting to isolate the bacteria from diesel and phenol. But then when I started my master's, we couldn't continue that project, so I started doing something else. So I did like bioaccumulation of heavy metals in plants. So I've always wanted to do something which related to biology, and I want to do something which I can visualize. So yeah, then it's very different. It's very um, interesting that I start working on Arctic, coming from a polar, like a tropical country like Bangladesh. But I find it very exciting, interesting, and very adventurous as well, which I always prefer to make my life adventurous in any way I can find. So yeah, so now I am in that state that I did my all the field work. I was very lucky, and I got all these opportunities to go to the subarctic and high Arctic, close to the North Pole, to do my field work, to collect samples from all different sites of subarctic and high Arctic regions in Canada and North Pole, close to North Pole. Um, and yeah, as Monojit said, that I study sea ice algae. So I will try to talk a little bit, and then maybe we can go further detail later. So in winter, the Arctic Ocean got frozen. So the sea water got frozen, which we call sea ice. And if we drill the sea ice, we can find a brown thing at the bottom. So which is the sea ice algae, and that's the thing I am working on mostly. And that's the part of the base of this polar ecosystem, like those are the primary producer of the polar ecosystem, and it's very important, especially during the late winter and early spring. And my focus is to see mostly the nutrient dynamics. So the light and nutrient, these two things are important for CS algal growth. So my focus is to work on nutrients. So that's I'm trying to do in my PhD.
Yeah. Yeah, so I also get this a lot. So basically, as you mentioned, like As Bangladeshis, definitely from the tropics.
Yeah.
It's often like a very unique combination. I also work with sea ice, so do you. That we ended up working with in a very environment that is definitely not familiar to like what we have seen most of our lives. So we'll talk more about that later. But transitioning a bit more into the sea ice environment that you talked about, uh, the rate of algal growth. So if you want to tell us a bit more about specifically about what your PhD focus is, I know that you have recently become a PhD candidate, so congratulations on that. And then what's your focus for the PhD?
Yeah, so yeah, thanks, Monojit. It was the hardest exam I had in my
Yeah.
life, so I'm happy that it's done. Um, so my PhD, yeah, it was very challenging, and I'm so happy that we had that time together. We were in CEOs from Bangladesh, and we had very hard times during COVID and everything. But yeah, we went through hard times, but it was really worthy. I feel like we survived and like we did good, and yeah, now we are doing something very important, which is really nice. So what I do in my PhD, as I said, mostly CS algae. So I do work on nutrient dynamics. So for when there is the seawater got frozen, and it isolate all the sea salt from the from the ice matrix. So that's the difference between the lake ice and sea ice. In lake ice, it's really hard. There is nothing inside the lake ice, so it's hard. But when sea ice got frozen, there's still some pockets or channels created in the sea ice, which we call brine pockets or brine channels. So those brine channels or pockets contain some nutrients, and sea ice algae got some space to grow there, and they can use those nutrients. So Arctic is very complex and very dynamic environment. So in some part of the Arctic, there is no light during the winter, but during like March, April, when the sun returns, and then when the light penetrates through the ice, and there is nutrients inside the ice, so algae started to grow. So that's what I was looking for, how algae, how much nutrients is available for the algae, are they are getting enough nutrients from the seawater. So I said that algae can grow at the bottom, but they can also grow at the interior and other level of the sea ice. But mostly why in the bottom? Because there is a underlying surface water of the ocean. So algae can uptake nutrients from that
Mhm.
surface water as well. So what I was looking for in my first objective was to that like how different part of the Arctic has the influence of nutrients, and then how the nutrients are coming to the Arctic Ocean. Like, is it the water mass, bathymetry, tidal currents, and how they're influencing? And there is also an impact of CS algae in CS nutrients. So one of my interest is to see the intercellular nutrients. So what is that? It is like when algae grow, they can store nutrients in their cell. So during like winter, or when there is not enough nutrients available, they can use that part of nutrients. So that's also another perspective that I'm trying
And
to look for.
just a follow up on that. So basically, I guess that is also a form of adaptation that they have to
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
or,
So it's
like.
it's one of the
So if you
adaptive
want to
strategies.
tell us a bit more about like the environment, like why this adaptation is like very critical for them to survive.
Yeah, for sure. So its CS environment is very harsh for sure. It's very cold. It's not like there is not a lot of light available for the photosynthesis and everything, and it is definitely nutrient limited.
Mhm.
It's not like the surface water. It's not like dissolved nutrients is everywhere that we get from the fresh water, from the river. It's not like that. So it's very nutrient limited. It's very harsh, and so they have to have develop a lot of adaptive strategies. For example, intercellular and also extracellular. So
Mhm.
extracellular is like they can build some like a gel-like structure, which we call like extracellular polysaccharide. So it can survive them from like any other physical the disturbance or like cold environment or everything. So that's one of the part of their adaptive strategies. But my interest is mostly to see what's in the cell, like intracellular. So if there is like enough or more than nutrients available in the system for the growth of sea ice algae, so they use those nutrients for their growth. For example, they produce like they can for the cell growth or protein, those kind of stuff. They use those nutrients, but still, if there is enough available, they can maybe store in their vacuoles those nutrients so that they can use it for other purpose. And also there is another important, very important thing is oxygen, which is
Mhm.
important for the growth, for the photosynthesis. So if it's in anoxic, those nutrient can help them to survive in an anoxic environment as well. So yeah, that's how CS algae try to develop some adaptive strategies and survive in this harsh environment. And that's how like other organisms in sea ice environment survive during cold and dark nights. Variety of organism we can see if we just take a little bit of sea ice and in under the microscope, we can see
Right.
a huge variety, and it's very interesting to see.
Right. Absolutely. And you wouldn't really expect them where they are, right? So that is the, I
Exactly.
think, the
Mhm.
the surprise. I think for me personally, the first time I saw them in the field, when we took, it's not my personal research interest, but when we saw that first time that I saw the brown layer that you were talking about in the field, it was so fascinating. I'm like, it's an environment that it's very difficult for anyone, well, it for us humans who are very um,
Yeah, yeah, I
advanced
can I can show
organisms to
picture as
survive.
well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure you'll demonstrate. So, and if I understand better, what is your first focus of your PhD is to look how this system is works differently in different parts of the Arctic. Am I right?
Yeah, so my PhD focuses on three different type of work. So first of all, I did a synthesis, like oral synthesis. I'll talk about it, and then my second one is mostly focusing on the fieldwork part that I mentioned that I went um, to subarctic and high Arctic area to collect samples, and also my third one is mostly the lab perspective. So my first objective was like to see the big picture, like whole pan Arctic scenario. So that's so what I did, I will try to be short.
Mm.
So what I did, I collected from different published and unpublished paper from 1983 to 2023. So it's like a 30 years of database I had to create. There was not a database created, so I had to collect data from reaching out to authors or extracting data from the published papers or try to get the publicly available data. So I try to collect CS nutrient and chlorophyll, which is the algae algal data from different sources, and then I tried to see like what's happening in how different it's from different part of the Arctic. So Canadian Arctic is very different than the Central Arctic, and also we have other part of the Arctic like Alaska and Chukchi Sea, which is influenced by the Pacific water. So Arctic Ocean is very complex. It's not like uniform like Southern Ocean. So nutrient
Yes.
dynamics in different part of the Arctic is very different. So that's what was my interest to see. What is influencing the nutrient availability? Is it the water mass, bathymetry, tidal currents, or it's the geography, like the sun or the light is influencing more. So that was my first objective to see. And also there is a changing climate. So how sea ice, thinner sea ice or thinner snow depth is influencing the algal growth. That's also another part.
Of course. Yeah, so that sounds absolutely fascinating. So, if you like, so you mentioned about like the difference in sea ice algae uh, throughout the Arctic. Is that something that you can show us through a map, like how different it is? Like I know you told us about that the algae, the processes are very different to in the
Yeah,
Canadian
for
Arctic.
sure. I can definitely score that we drilled using a core barrel, which is really tiresome in sea ice. And then you see this brown color thing, which is the CSLG, but you can also find a little bit top. But this part is, you can see it's very fragile, and this is
Mhm.
called the skeletal layer, and CS algae can grow inside this layer. And there's another different kind of algae I found in Arctic Ocean close to North Pole in the Central Arctic, which is called subarctic. So we call, sorry, sub ice algae. These are bottom ice algae and the sub ice algae, which is like free floating. So these are two different kind of algae we can see. So I will just quickly show how we can see the algae in different. So this is a very, I tried, it looks like a complex picture, but I tried to show it very simply. So this is a sea ice environment. So during the winter sun, when the sun returns after the winter, during the spring, the sun penetrate and algae can grow in internal, in bottom, and these are like sub ice, and the nutrients are coming from like different layer of the sea ice, and there is like vertical mixing or upwelling of nutrients, which um, algae can those nutrient algae can use or uptake for their growth. And this is very important or complex system happening in sea ice, in pelagic or the seawater, and in the benthic, where the sediment we call these are benthic algae. So this is a complex system, and it's very important. Why CS algae is important? Because in when there is sea ice and snow, there is almost little food for the other zooplankton, fish, or like even for polar bear, the big animals. So in during that time, CSLG can support the growth. They can continue the production of food. So they are the very important primary producer during that time. And then when the sea ice melt and there is a vertical mixing happen and there is a phytoplankton growth. So then during that time, phytoplankton can support the growth. So, but if there is no sea ice during that time, there will be a mismatch. So that's why sea ice algal growth is very important during spring, and it's
Right.
really it helps to continue that food web or the polar ecosystem.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually very fascinating. I never realized this role. Like I keep that, like if throughout the, I think, winter months, can we say like October to, or no, or later, November
Yeah,
to
so
April. So that
yeah,
in
so
those
the
minds,
growth
this crucial role is very important, or
exactly. So it depends, really depends on where it's located. So that's why
Mhm.
I'm saying like depends on the geography, like the or the when the light returns in subarctic, where I did some sampling in subarctic that we found the algal growth was higher during like late March or mid-April, and we
Mhm.
can see them like till early May maybe. But then
Mhm.
in higher Arctic, when I was in Cambridge Bay or in like North Pole region, we can find ice algae during like June. So
Mhm.
that's the interesting part of having a very different pan-Arctic variation of algal growth.
Right. Okay. And what you're trying to say is like during those months when the other sources of production, or like food, we should say, for different animals, when it's less, this is where the sea ice algae is playing its role as a
Exactly.
supply.
Yeah. So for the growth of other animals, I didn't show here. Like for example, zooplankton. So they need food for their survival. Even it's dark, even
Mhm.
it's not that enough food. But
Yes.
that time, the growth of algae, and they can transport to the benthic or to the
Mhm.
pelagic system. They can have their food. So
Mhm.
that's very important to have sea ice algae in the ecosystem. And this is very important because these CS algae have very high concentration of fatty acid, which
Mhm.
is very important for their reproduction and growth. So if
Mhm.
there is not enough CS algae, so there will be a consequences later
Okay.
to the
And
season.
this is like a food chain thing, right? Because you mentioned polar bears as well. So those are higher up the food chain, but those are also impacted in this with this production.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Because as I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
this is the base of the food web. So
Mhm.
if phytoplankton play a very important role for sure, but there is not enough chlorophyll A we find or the phytoplankton during those winter months in the pelagic ecosystem. So that's time the CSLG is the main player.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I can stop share.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, that really sort of shows the role that the CA algae plays throughout the different winter months, and how it is a vital part of the polar ecosystem. And you also talked about a bit about the distribution. So next, do you just wanted to sort of know a bit more about your fieldwork? So till now, how much of fieldwork, like where have you been? And I personally know that you have been to a lot of places, but maybe if you just want to sort of share a bit about those experiences, also like what it means as sort of like someone from Bangladesh, how what was your first fieldwork experience, a bit about that. I was telling Fawzia before this episode that we need to have a separate episode about this, so maybe we don't want to share everything, so if you, but lightly, if you just want to sort of share a
Yes,
bit
yeah,
about
I
it.
always love to talk about my field work.
Okay,
Sometimes
okay,
maybe rather than my research work. That's
right.
the exciting
So
part of
that's yes
my
for
field.
a fieldwork episode, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Sure, why not? Yeah. So, yeah, I was really lucky, and as I'm really grateful that I had these opportunities, and a lot of field work happened. So first of when I started, I went to the subarctic, which is the Hudson Bay, and I went to a little island called Belcher Islands, or Sanikilwak in Inuit terms. So so I went there. I went there 3 times, and but my first time was very unique and very different, so it was really sudden plan to be there, and mostly at that time it was mostly kind of my training purpose, like I was another PhD student was going, so I just joined them to be situated and know how things happen. So I personally, I think I was not that ready that time, so it was really hard for me to be there. It was like first March, my first time was like 1st March to 15th March, like 2 weeks field work that time. So it was like in the winter, and the temperature was feels like temperature was -50, and it's we had to be outside like for 8 hours on the ice, and it was so hard for me. And working on the ice wasn't that bad, but the hardest part was when we were going to the site. So we were lucky to work with the Inuit community, and they're very nice, they're very friendly, they were our guides. So they usually drive skidoo, and they have like a sled thing, like a wooden sled, which they call kometek in their language. So we had to sit in the kometek. They drive so fast, and we had to cover everything, like our face with goggles and all the other stuff. We had to cover everything, and it's really really cool. Sometimes I feel like why I'm here, what I'm doing, but then then I realized, oh, like not a lot of people had this opportunities to be here, but definitely it was really challenging, but I really loved it. And in my field, I got like a frostbite here, because it's if there's a tiny of empty space in your face, then it got like burned due to the cold. So
Right.
it was hard, but then I went there. Next time it was not that difficult. I enjoyed my time there. I planned my whole my project there. I was there for a month next time, and I went there and again another time again. So we covered the whole island. So that was my field work for my second project in Hudson Bay. But I was also very lucky to be invited by one of my committee members. She's working in Norway, so she was going to a research cruise, and she invited me to help her. So I flew to Norway in Svalbard, which was like kind of my dream.
Mhm.
So I have heard about people going to North Pole. They go to Svalbard first. So we get on board in a research icebreaker ship, which is RV Prince Haakon. I was there for 3 weeks, which was very exciting with all the researchers. And the facilities and everything have good research labs and everything. And the whole night, the huge sound of breaking of ice and seeing the polar bears, and it was amazing
Yeah.
experience. And I was really lucky to be
I
there.
hope you were not on the ice when you saw the polar.
No, but there is one day
Okay.
I wasn't on the ice. So when there's people in the ice, some other people had to watch with the binocular
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see that is there. We had
Bear
people with
guard, right?
gun and everything. Yes, but when you are in ice, you can see the polar bear. because of
Right.
the visibility is not that good. So
Mhm.
someone else from the upper deck need to see that there is anything coming. So when we are, I was on the deck, one of my other colleague who saw polar bear, so we had to call them, the people on in the ice in radio, that oh, you have to come back soon. So that
Mhm.
day was really scary but exciting as well. But I
Mhm.
was really lucky to see polar bear and very close to our ship, like where they anchored the ship, and it's really beautiful, gorgeous, and really I'm grateful that I had this
Right. Yeah.
experiences.
You want
And
also want to mention how dangerous they are. They are gorgeous,
yeah,
but
for sure. I know we had this, I know that vibe that, oh, polar bears are really nice,
cute. Yeah.
cute, we can hug them. That's how we grew up. But it's not like that. So if you are in Canada, people say that you are living in a bear country, so there is a possibility to see bear, but don't be excited to run to them.
Yeah. Right.
So the
Right.
polar bear is mostly there are, other than the other bears, polar bear are like more dangerous
Mhm.
because they always live in a very nutrient limited environment. There's always looking for food. So when we are
Mhm.
watching them from our ship, they are also watching to us. Like they are also very curious.
Mhm.
And one of our colleague, she was working with the atmospheric data, so she
Mhm.
put some of her machine or
Mhm.
gadgets on the ice to get like real-time data set. But the
Mhm.
polar bear opened that box and was
Mhm.
like curious to find out
Mhm.
the food and everything.
Yeah.
And they are one of the most speed, like their speed, I don't remember like the speed, but they can run very fast than other
Mhm.
animals. So they can be very quick, and it
Mhm.
anything can happen. So we
Mhm.
when we are on the ice, we always have to be very careful. So during my fieldwork in Sanikilwak, the Inuit people, they used to carry guns and they used to look for the polar bears for us, but
Mhm.
we also have to be very cautious.
Right.
But then we are on the ship, we had this opportunity, like a scope to be on the ship or run to the ship, but it's something we always have to be very careful. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely fascinating, like your experiences. And yeah, maybe we'll have one more episode with this focusing on this. Because definitely like especially how many Bangladeshis would you find like, having these experiences? So
Yeah,
definitely
that's
we need to document these. So
yeah. Every time when I'm in the field, I feel challenges. I feel it's hard for me. I always remember that I'm really like I'm grateful, and I feel like I'm one of the people who got this opportunity from Bangladesh, because it's not something you can buy with money. It's
yeah, that's
something
right.
that, like
Mm,
the places I have been, like close to North Pole, close to the, and working with the Inuit people, it's also another story. It's also like very something I would like to like. I have a lot of story to tell about
mm,
their lifestyle, how they survive in cold winter
mhm,
months, their hunting and everything.
yeah,
We have wired their like eider ducks made parkas, which is very
mhm,
heavy and huge. So they always get their supplies and everything from nature. So that's also
mhm,
another
right.
interesting part. So I'm really happy to work with them, find them as a
Mhm,
guide, and making friendship with them. So they're really nice. And yeah, that's how I feel
mhm.
like one of the biggest
Yeah,
achievement of
that
my.
also tells us like that it's not always only about the science, right? Because as
Yeah.
you were saying, that a part of your research is also about uh, understanding the lives of these communities, right? And
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
learning from them, right?
Mm-hmm.
To
So,
sort of survive.
so I remember they usually get eider ducks, which is one kind of bird, which is very important for them. They get the and they made parkas from
Mhm,
from those ducks. They also have like polar bear shoes and Arctic fox gloves and everything.
mhm,
And they have a lot of story to tell us, like how they
mhm,
survive. And I feel like they're still very connected. It's not like how city people live. They're very
mhm,
connected. They're good community. And I we had some chance to be their community programs. And mm, I feel like they still have like that primitive style of living, which
right.
I really like. They still have
Mhm,
like raw seal meat they offered us.
right. Yeah.
So yeah, it was really something fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why, yeah, being a researcher also requires social skills, right? And
Mm,
in
for
these
sure.
environments, sort of trying to adapt and all that. So, yeah, fascinating stories. One more episode, maybe. So, yeah, maybe people can comment if they want more. So, so moving on. This podcast is also about the journey of researchers. I know that you're doing a very important work through your PhD, and definitely a point of the PhD is also to sort of contribute to the knowledge base that we have. But it's also about there's a lot to learn from your journey as well. So just a bit on that, there are lots of aspiring listeners that we have in this podcast who are very fascinated to sort of start off their research journey, and also maybe um, have like similar experiences, like fascinating experiences that you have. So, do you have any advice for like these aspiring researchers, uh, and just maybe some lessons from your journey?
Yeah, for sure. I will tell my journey again, maybe a little bit. So try to better understand yourself, like what you like, what you want to do. If you think, oh, I'm not that a person who want to be on the ice. So I got a lot of my friends told me, oh, I never could do that because it's cold, it's challenging. So that's why I would say first that know yourself, like what you want. But I'm the person who always try to find something very challenging or which is very adventurous or something thrilling. So know yourself, try to understand what excites you first, and just don't give up. Work on that. So as I say that Monojit and me, we started together working on sea ice. We never saw sea ice in our eyes. I saw snow in Nepal or India when I was doing some hiking or mountaineering, but we had to work with this. So we
Mhm.
had to deal with this. So what we had in our mind that's what we want to work. But yeah, it feels scary or challenging, but it's okay to be scared. It's okay to
Right.
be scared, but it's something, if you like, there will be outcome. There will be something good waiting for you. And I would say try to be skilled, like try to be learn something new. And skill is one of the biggest thing that we have to always like. There is a lot of things we can say, oh, I don't know anyone, I don't have money, or I don't have this, I don't have that. But if you have skill, you have a lot of things that which you give you a lot of plus points to be look forward. Like if, for example, if you're looking for a professor or looking for an opportunity to do higher study abroad from Bangladesh. So that's I would say be open. First thing that be open, like what you want to do. Try to figure out a lot of try to look for different options, not one thing. Oh, I want to do this very specific. That's I always tell to my students or my juniors that be open and try to find out a lot of options. Then figure out which one you want to do.
Mhm.
Try to do a lot of volunteer work. Try to work for community, which you will give you experiences, and then be also be skilled and try to learn new things. For example, new statistic analysis, new softwares, for example GIS or R, Python, those kind of stuff. For those are new, and those who started find it very challenging. As I said, there will be something, and always think the significance of your work. So that's what I said. Like I'm saying, oh, I'm happy that I was in CIs, it's fun, but it was not always fun. There was a lot of time I found it's cold, my hand is going to be freeze, but I had to use my laptop in the ice.
Mhm.
And then also sometimes nothing is working, so you take your instrument in the ice but it's not working, so what do you do the whole day? So
Right.
it's not something very easy. So but then always I back in my mind I was saying, oh, it's very significant, it's very meaningful work, I'm doing something for people, I'm
Mhm.
doing something for the world. So
Right.
so if you motivate you like that way, so you can definitely definitely be successful. And I would say don't that's I will always tell this to everyone, that don't compare yourself with other people. There's everyone has a different time scale. So
Mhm.
maybe one of your friends finish a paper within a year, but you are still struggling in 3 years.
Mhm.
So but that's completely fine.
Mhm.
It's always fine to be take it easy, go slow, but there is always some,
Absolutely.
yeah, waiting for
Yeah.
you. Good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That is definitely uh, like great advice. And you know how you mentioned that uh, definitely like the going always gets tough, right? As you mentioned, I personally had this experience where
Yeah.
you sort of maybe travel 2.5 hours through the excruciating skidoo pain that you are talking about, and then you go to your field site, and then the instrument decides that it doesn't want to work, and
Hmm.
there's not a lot you can do at this moment because as you said, it's -50 outside. You can't really troubleshoot it right there, right?
Hmm.
So the whole day's work is gone, and you know what you're doing, you're just sitting there because you have to be there for 8 hours because that other people have work, right? So essentially, so that is very frustrating, and there's no like there's no way you can just sort of ignore that, right? Like no one is going to take you, just you there, you just have to wait for the whole team. So
Hmm.
so definitely, like if you are not invested, like if that is something that the scientific thing doesn't sort of like motivate you, and that is definitely not something that like it is very easy to get over, right? It is, and
Yeah, and I will also add that not a lot of people talk about the failure. We always talk about the success,
yeah,
but it's not bad to be failed sometimes. It's
yeah,
okay. It's the lesson that how we learn. This is the way we learn. Like a lot of failure, a lot of tries, and then we learn something new. And always, I think we should celebrate every tiny bits of our success and be kind to yourself. Like we this is a world where we're living with the social media and everything. We always compare with each other, like, oh, they are getting this job, they're getting this paper published, they're getting this done. But that's really hard to be kind with yourself. that's
right,
that's that's definitely very challenging when you see that when you compare with others. So that's I was thinking that we need to celebrate each tiny bit of a success. We need to be very careful that we always like um, grateful for what we have, what
absolutely.
we already done.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like sometimes just to sort of add to what you're saying, sometimes I feel like it's good to sort of maybe compare, but with yourself, what you were
Mhm.
like 1 year ago, or even like 1 week ago. Like, what did you learn? What is the like sort of, are you moving? Are you pushing yourself in
Mhm.
that direction rather than comparing to
Right.
anyone else? I don't think that is very helpful, and that sort of keeps you down because that you will feel like, oh, this is not happening. So
Yeah.
the yardstick should always be yourself,
Yeah.
maybe in different points of your time. The whole
Mhm.
point is that are you making progress? Are you trying to learn new
Mhm.
things? And definitely, failure is the whole point of of any scientific or
Mhm.
educational
Exactly.
endeavor, because definitely, like the whole all often in science, the point of doing a project is to figure out that this doesn't work, because that
Exactly.
is that is also that is how
Yeah,
knowledge is
we all know the
basically.
Thomas Alva Edison
Yeah,
stories.
yeah, exactly. So the whole point is that okay, it's not
Yeah,
working, so
it's not
look for
working.
something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how, like, overall, I guess the whole scientific process is. Uh and it's just that if you want to jump into this, you need to know that it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know that it's not going to be smooth.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, it's always, I think, a part of it is also sometimes you need to jump, maybe not without knowing, like how I got into like the sea ice domain. Honestly, I not necessarily knew what I was doing, but what I was getting into. But then again, I've also sort of tried to be open to the fact that, okay, this is something new.
Yeah,
This is something
also
that,
I would like to add a little bit about the graduate student life. I don't know a lot how many graduate students watching this, but there is like everyone will say, "Oh, you are doing PhD or you're doing masters." Yeah, it's really hard. It's you have to always work, only work thing, and but it's very important to do work-life balance. Like
Mhm.
that's what I feel like during my journey to my PhD. I'm not done yet, but I did a lot of stuff during my PhD. I make so many friends. I shared my like you can learn from your friends and colleagues. Also, I did like different exciting activities. I tried to be try to do hiking in Nepal. I did skydiving. I tried to explore a new country. So don't feel like you are here only for work, you are here only for study, you are here only for the manuscript. It's not like
Right.
that. It's one life. So you should celebrate your life. So that's the thing.
We
So
want to
when you
end in that note, like because yes, it's one life. You need to make the best out of it, and
Mhm.
it's not only about the science. It's about the whole experience, right? Of understanding and the good thing about like at least North American degrees is that you do get a lot of chance to do that. I know that there are differences in programs, but I guess the whole point of like pursuing the science is also like sort of having that experience, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
thank you so much. I think that that definitely is a good place to sort of end. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I think I had a very pleasant experience in this podcast. So thanks again,
Yeah.
and I
Thank
think
you so
we'll,
much,
yeah.
Monojit, and I really hope that the audience who are listening us they get they find some motivation working on CIs or Arctic or anything in science related things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just to end this podcast is that honestly, if two Bangladeshis, I think we are both examples, I guess, that if we can jump into like -50 with -50 wind gust on your face, I mean, yeah, it's possible. Like, it's not necessarily nothing is impossible. It
Mhm.
is definitely. I know Bangladeshis all over the world are doing wonderful stuff, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it's actually possible. So yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Fauzia. I guess we'll try to
So, Monojit.
end the episode there. Thank you.